matters and the uncensored truth. It's time for the Mr. Chris Show Underground. News and commentary.
So another day goes by and more crazy things just keep happening. But it looks like something is starting to come into focus a little at a time. And we're starting to see some clarity with a number of avenues that might bring a resolution that we're looking for. I have on the line DiamonDan. Are you connected now?
Mr. Chris, I'm here.
Wow, okay, great. It's been a crazy week, and I don't know, where have you been?
Well, ever since election night, you and I spoke, and things were getting rolling, and then some things happened, as you know, some crazy things, and I had to go take care of some business that I can't really discuss right now, but be glad to talk about that and some other things at a later date, but right now, just got to kind of keep it under wraps.
Sure. No, I understand that. I know how these things can be, trust me. So, okay, well, you're pretty much up to date, though, on the whole situation in your United States, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's, I'm trying to stay on top of things with the usual channels that you and I follow, watching the Patriots and that kind of information. Of course, the fake news, the mainstream media is just out there blatantly lying and just horrible, horrendous. So anybody that's getting their news from that is convinced that Biden is going to be the president.
Right. Well, so there's been some developments. Now, in the last few days, I've made a couple of broadcasts, and I've been talking about a couple different things. One, we have the QFS watermark, that is the blockchain code that's stored within the blockchain, and there's individual codes for each piece of paper that was printed by Department of Homeland Security. The code was sent out. Those were used to print ballots. The phony ballots, of course, were printed to look exactly like that in every shape, way, and form, except they do not have the non-radioactive radioisotope code that is imprinted on each of the real ballots. So I was reporting about that, and that is it allows you to separate the phony from the real. And then on top of that, apparently there were a number of agents that were assigned to these various battleground states in the counties where they knew there was going to be trouble to record and witness the fraud going on, where guys in the back would show up with a van, they would take out extra boxes of ballots that had nothing to do with anything that were printed up, brought them in and counted them nonetheless.
Yeah, and we've heard that. Your broadcast, by the way, I did. I was able to catch those, and bravo, because there was just a very dark time the last 5 days. It's just been a very dark time, and I know a lot of people are reaching out and looking for some answers and some hope in this time. So
sure.
I just want to say right now that it's guys like you that are out there risking your very life and existence to get this information out. And bravo to you. Thank you so much, because I was tuning in to find out a lot of the stuff that's going on as well.
Well, I mean, you're quite welcome, but the thing is that, we're all patriots, okay? I mean, there's patriots in all walks, all areas of life here that are working for the common goal here. And the common goal is to keep America, basically, to not let it fall into the hands of the globalists and to take us down completely. So you're a patriot. Everybody I know is a patriot who's fighting for the cause. So we're all in this together.
Right. Wanted to mention one of my sources. We mentioned them before. The name is 3D. The handle. And I was able to contact 3D just yesterday, and 3D let me know that they took part in a Team Trump conference call that was set up for donors and supporters. And I guess if you were invited, you could become part of Team Trump. And it was actually a real live conference call with some of the leaders of the campaign. And the point I wanted to make was that 3D mentioned that the leader of the conference call towards the end did verify the watermark situation with the ballots. So
great.
Yeah.
No, it's good to hear the confirmation. And since 3D is right there talking in a conference with Team Trump, that's phenomenal. Not too many people are actually brought in to that level from the outside to be part of it. So that's really, really great information.
Yeah, and I just thought I'd pass it along because that's some verification of what we're hearing. I mean, we're hearing it all across many of the YouTubers and different channels that patriots that we watch, and it's just nice to hear it, from the horse's mouth that yes, indeed, this is happening. And tomorrow's Monday. We've had 2 days of weekend where, of course, the courts aren't operating, so I think we're going to see a lot of things start to happen tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned in the previous broadcast, what you have is when you have a rat trap set up, okay, you don't sit there and have lights and noise and advertise to the rat that, hey, I got a trap here for you and stuff. You just simply put it out there and you let them do the work in order to trap themselves. And I think that's what needed to happen in all this, because just think of it, if Trump's team came out and said, oh, by the way, we secured this with a watermark, and so that way we can track it, they would, they'd be like, oh, wait a second, let's look into this and stuff. So they had no clue, completely blindsided. I mean, this was brilliant. This is a military tactician's dream in order to be able to pull something like this off and to fool the enemy to such a degree that they have no clue as to what happened.
Yeah, definitely top level stuff. I mean, you and I didn't know anything about that, and when I found out, I was like, wow,
yeah,
floored me. I'm like, wow. Well, if that's the case, then it's going to be hands down, black and white here. We throw out the fake ones. We don't.
Myself and others. I mean, there's certain things that we're told that we can actually disclose at certain times, and as much as you want to, you have to just go by the plan and do what you're told, because this is for basically all the marbles, as they used to say. I mean, this is high stakes. This is not your $100 tables. These are the high stakes tables that we're playing for.
Well, yeah, it's the future of our country, and I know Hannity, Tucker, Rush, Gallagher. They've all been saying that this team gets in, Biden, Harris, I mean, it's going to change the country as we know it. It's going to be unrecognizable in a few years, and it's just it can't stand. We cannot allow this.
Right. And it's speaking of Fox. Yeah, I'm pretty sad to say Fox News, rest in peace, because they showed themselves who they were over this last week. They showed exactly who owns them, Disney. And I know that there's still some personalities that are respected. However, the network itself is in some ways worse than CNN.
Absolutely. I mean, what they did was unconscionable, and they're going to lose a lot of their base, and they were leading in so many of these programs, leading in ratings and top-rated shows, and that's all going to go away now because people can see what they really are.
Yeah, and it's sad. Another sad thing that I came across was comments I read regarding the fraud, or according to his words, the lack thereof, by Mitt Romney. And I've always suspected Mitt Romney, and I've known some people that have actually worked for his campaign back in the day who claim that, no, he's the greatest guy and all this, and you can judge a tree by its fruit, and I've given him enough chances, and no, I can see exactly which side he's on, and it's not good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely not our side, that's for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to talk to you more about the main topic here, which is what could possibly be going on in the aftermath here as far as the Supreme Court when they get involved into this. And there has been a letter that went out, I believe, to Michigan by the Supreme Court about some of the counting and the situation there, but I'm talking about the full-blown, we come out and expose everything about the watermark and say, okay, this is rampant, this is fraud everywhere, we can prove it's fraud, what do we do?
Right, and we're going to have a situation at that point when it's not just one state or one county, it's all the states and all the counties. I think there's going to be one of two things that they will do. They're going to rule it. There's either going to have to be a nationwide recount, where they throw all the invalid and illegal ballots away and they only count the legal ones, or they'll have to go into hearings that go to the House and the Senate. So I don't know which way they'll go, but I'm kind of hoping for the former, where it's just a nationwide recount. Shouldn't take that long. You throw out the illegal ballots. America's Got Talent can tally 130 million votes on a commercial break. So, how come we can't count our legal ballots in an evening?
Right, and that's pretty much the crux of the matter, just as you just said, and that are legal ballots, okay? We are talking about the ones that were printed and supplied on paper from the DHS, not the ones that the Chinese supplied, not the ones that the Biden camp had printed with the Chinese help. We're not talking about those, or wherever else they might have sourced it from. Most people say it's China. But we're talking about the absolute legitimate mail-in votes with also the legitimate electronic tabulation, which I understand there's something about the machines here. Did I get this information correct?
Yeah, there were machines that malfunctioned and kicked out votes. Some malfunctioned, gave Trump some votes. But nonetheless, there's malfunctioning going on. So there's, I may have misspoken there. The computer was supposed to count and add votes to Biden. The computer malfunctioned and gave Trump votes, malfunctioned to the level of fraud. You know what I'm saying? So here they're trying to generate more votes for Biden, but it malfunctioned and gave more votes to Trump. That's how we found out about it.
Now, isn't it, I read this just basically minutes before we went to record here, but isn't Nancy Pelosi, I'd almost call her Nasty Pelosi, but anyway, isn't she somehow involved with these voting machines?
I don't know. I haven't heard that.
Okay, as far as I know, right before airtime, it was her husband's company was the one, I think it's Dominion or whatever, that supplies these voting machines or the software for it. Like I said, I just glanced at it, but if that's true, that's absolutely, amazing in a very bad way, because can you imagine if the Trump company supplied the voting machines? Do you think that would be okay?
Oh, the left would be screaming. So,
Right.
Wow. Yeah, that's very interesting. If that's the case, that needs to be seriously looked into. And that software and everything needs to be, delved into, because that can't be good.
No.
And then another thing I heard is that the post office is run by the left. I mean, it's completely controlled, and the union and the different parts of that are all left controlled. So now you've got the post office that's involved, and it's all run by Democrats.
Yeah, it's sad and it's ironic at the same time, because you have a mainstream media that we know which side they're on in the deep state, but if you have the sheeple in the middle that are led by these folks, and anything they say is the way it goes. Like, they come out and say, there's not a shred of evidence for fraud, okay? And they push that out, and people then say, they said there's not a shred of evidence, so I guess there's not. And whatever they say, that's what is repeated into the minds of the sheeple who don't think for themselves. But it's very damaging.
Oh, yeah. And I know people like this. I work with people like this. And, they walk around repeating the things they hear on the mainstream media, and you're just like, I'm stop what I'm doing and listen to the filth that's coming out of their mouth, and how uneducated they are. Obviously, they don't do any research on their own, and they're just sitting there watching the boob tube being, spoon-fed this false information, and I know people that are partying and celebrating because, Biden won, he's the president-elect. Well, that's per the media. That's nothing
Right.
has been certified yet, people. Do you even know how this stuff works?
Right. Yeah. Let's be clear. I know that our viewers and listeners, I'm sure, are astute and educated, but the ones that maybe just kind of came to this and aren't so knowledgeable, I got news. The mainstream media does not certify the president, okay? That is done by first the vote by the Electoral College, okay? The media doesn't decide this. The people's popularity of who they want doesn't decide it. None of that decides it, regardless of what they show you on the TV just because you see the title on the TV that said Biden wins the 46th presidency of the United States, that doesn't mean anything. That's a guy typing a teleprompter and putting it up there by his job, by everybody saying, we're going to put this up there. That's all that is, nothing more.
That's absolutely correct. And, each state is responsible for their state votes. They have to certify the ballots by, normally I know where I live, it's November 30th. Once those are certified, meaning they're all checked over, everything's good, the ones without signatures are thrown out, and there's a legitimate count, this is the way it's supposed to work, then it goes to the Electoral College.
Mm-hmm.
Once it goes there, they have until December 14th to receive that and to cast their votes based on each state's voting tally. And the electorates are bound to vote the way their state dictates that they vote. And some of them don't do that. There has been instances where that doesn't happen, and that's called a faithless elector. That doesn't happen too often, but it can happen. But regardless, that's how it works. It's not because New York City, Portland, and California decided who the president's going to be. That's just not the way it works.
Yeah, exactly. So, I was just handed some other information here, and I just want to say I'm going to look deeper into this nasty Pelosi deal with this Dominion and the voting machine software and her husband. But like I said, just before we went to record this, I just saw just one message that came through about this, so I'm needing to dig into it deeper. But I wanted to talk more about this situation of what happens next. Now, of course, we assume that Trump's team is, there's already been lawsuits filed, and there's actually a press conference by Rudy Giuliani that was pretty much censored from all the media. You can find it, you can look around on the various sites. I believe Pressview has it and some others. But there's this issue of what will happen next, assuming that we have lawsuits, assuming the Supreme Court gets involved, assuming that the Supreme Court says, look, this is basically, fraudulent, the whole thing. We have to throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of thing, because it's all contaminated. If they can separate it through the watermark, that's great. But if not, I guess we are going to be reaching something that, according to my research, has only happened 3 times in the history of the United States. 1801, I believe it's 1825, and 1877, invoking the 12th Amendment.
That's correct. I saw the same message before we went on air, and I have not had time to verify it, to do my own research on this, because we were just going on air. But yeah, I got the same thing, and what I heard or what I read here is just like you're saying, if it goes well, and like we mentioned earlier in the program, they'll recount all the legal votes. If it doesn't, if they're not able to, like let's say a whole bunch of them were destroyed after being counted, or just go missing, or whatever. They can't get a hold of them. They can't reconcile the number of votes with actual ballots. I think that's going to be a problem, because it's essentially destroying the evidence, and they're just going to throw their hands in the air and go, I don't know. But that also brings up another point, that many states had more votes tabulated than they have registered voters.
Right.
So now I understand some states have same-day registration. So on November 3rd, you can register to vote and you can go vote. So that would change that number. But I think some of them were like 150% greater than registered voters.
Right.
So
which is not going to happen with same-day registrations out of the blue. I mean, you're going to get a small percentage of people, but not what we're seeing.
Yeah, exactly. So apparently the House, the Congress, votes on who the president will be. It has nothing to do with what party that has power. Every state gets one vote, and 30 states are held by Republicans and 19 by Democrats.
Right.
So if every state gets a vote, obviously that's going to go Trump's way.
Right.
They have to vote down party lines. They have no choice due to the 12th Amendment. And this is where I want to do some research and really figure out, what that is about.
Yeah, like I said, as far as I can tell, there were 3 dates, and I just quickly saw this before we assembled here, and it's 1801, 1825, and 1877, as far as I know. I believe, those are the right dates. And I need to research that further with my team. We need to look into this, but let's assume that's the case, and let's assume it goes this way. If you think about it, the media is going to freak out at levels that we probably have never seen.
That's correct, and that gets to the point that I want to make, that this is the reason the media is declaring Biden the winner, the president-elect, because they want to get their base charged up. They want people celebrating. They want everybody shooting off fireworks and dancing in the streets and having a great old time, because then when this bombshell hits, whether it's this coming week or a month from now or into January, these people are going to lose their mind.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to handle that kind of a blow, and it's going to come to blows.
Right.
So.
And I know you have a buddy, and I hope this is not the case. We've mentioned it before, but you have a buddy who you've known for many years, and he's talking about he's still confirmed. According to him, he feels it's going to come to blood, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's been saying it for months before the election, and he was telling me that it's always his ending point is there will be blood, and I'm afraid he's right. Now, what I'm hoping is the president, and he went ahead and staged National Guard in some of the key locations on election day, and I'm thinking when they get close to a decision where it's going to, be this bad news for everybody, everybody on the left, I believe they're going to have National Guard staged to, a point like we've never seen. I think they're going to be everywhere to be able to knock this down pretty quickly, because we can't have all our major cities burning, and we can't have mobs and crazy people, Antifa and everything else coming through neighborhoods and throwing Molotovs and, murdering people.
Right.
So there's going to have to be some level of protection. And the way that this president works and his cabinet and his ministers, I believe that he will have those safeguards in place.
Right. Because it's very clear. I've talked to many patriots who've been at the rallies right before the election, and there's a couple common things here, and that are the people who support Trump love Trump, and Trump loves the people in the United States of America. And that is something that is rare, very rare, especially in presidency. I don't think it's ever possible. I don't think anybody actually loved Obama. I don't think anybody actually loved some of these other people and such, and maybe in their own twisted concepts. But I wanted to mention one other thing, though, and that is, and I mentioned this in the previous broadcast, that the United States is a religious nation, regardless of what people want to redefine it as. We were built by Christian founders with religious fundamentals, and I think it's important that the people actually need to pray about this situation more than anything, because realistically, if this is God's will, if Biden is supposed to be president and all that, then that's something that everybody has to accept, of course. But if it's not, and this is an evil takeover, which I firmly believe it is, then we need to do everything possible that we can to fight this.
Absolutely. I think you and I have spoken about Jonathan Cahn in the past. Do you know who he is? He wrote the book The Harbinger back 5 or 6 years ago. And it basically points to 9/11 as being a message from God that we needed to clean up our country. And he has a lot of very systemic proof, and he points to a lot of signs that are there and very visible if you know what to look for, that 19 years later there would be a second one. And he believes in his new book, Harbinger 2, that this is what we're going through now, and it is the last chance to reconcile with God and to get on our knees and pray for guidance, pray forgiveness, and pray for our country. And that's what we need to do.
Right. Whether you're Christian, whether you're Hindu, whether you're Muslim, whether you're anything, I think that if you're concerned about the future of the United States, it comes down to prayer, then doing whatever we can do to prevent this. But DiamonDan, we are out of time, but I want to thank you for being on the show.
Always a pleasure, Mr. Chris. Thank you. Take care, and God bless.
This has been the Mr. Chris Show Underground News and Commentary.